Today we're talking about a topic that is often very misunderstood, even though it's something that is shown in all kinds of multimedia, and that's snitching. And what I mean by snitching is snitching in the criminal justice world, specifically the federal system. How does it work? How often does it happen? And are people really in danger if they do it? That's what we're talking about, so stick around. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're having a great week, gearing up for a good weekend. And this week, we are talking about snitching. Now, everybody that has watched a movie or has listened to music or has watched TV shows knows that old idiom, snitches get stitches, right? This idea that you don't cooperate with the police. Most people think that that is a very pervasive attitude and that that's the most common thing, that nobody cooperates. That's actually not true. In fact, it's so not true, specifically on the federal system, that I've never done a study on this, but I bet that if you did, you would find that the vast majority of drug and gun conspiracy cases in the federal system across the country involve some type of cooperator, right? So in layman's terms, people call them snitches, people call them informants, but in the federal system, they're typically known as either cooperating defendants or confidential human sources. That's typically what they're known by. And like I said, if you look at any drug or gun conspiracy case in the federal system, it is almost a certainty that somewhere in that case, there is somebody that's cooperating, okay? It's incredibly common. It happens all the time in almost every case. Now, the thing to keep in mind is when we're talking about cooperation, it's a spectrum. There is a range of cooperation. It can go everywhere from somebody who is only giving vague information to law enforcement that they can then use to do additional exploration. They can use that to get a search warrant. They can use that to go and stake out a residence. And the only thing that person did was give them kind of this vague tip, this anonymous tip that they acted upon, right? That person, their name will never be in a report. They'll never be disclosed in discovery as a source. They'll never have to testify at trial, most likely. And so their role in a case is incredibly limited. It can go from that on one extreme all the way up to the kingpin who then turns on his whole organization and testifies against all of his co-defendants in open court at trial in hopes of making a better deal for himself, right? So there's a huge range and there's a bunch of things in between where people fall on that spectrum. So not everybody is the same type of snitch or the same type of confidential informant. So keep that in mind, right? When I say that every case involves some form of cooperation, that's what I mean. Not every case involves a defendant who's going to testify. Not every case involves somebody who wore a recording device and then went on an undercover buy operation to try to get somebody on video. But there's some type of cooperating going on. The reason that it is so pervasive and common, in my opinion at least, is because especially on the federal side, right? A lot of times from a defense lawyer perspective, it's the only card that you really have to play to try to get a better deal for your client. Most of the time on the federal side, if you get indicted on a drug case or a gun case, it's because they have been investigating you for months, sometimes years. And so they have built up a wealth of information and discovery and evidence that proves that you're guilty of what they have charged you with, right? So a lot of times when we don't have a really good legal argument, we don't have a good suppression idea, we don't have anything else, cooperation is one of the only cards we have to play that can mitigate and turn a 30-year sentence, a 40-year sentence into a 15-year sentence, a 10-year sentence, a 5-year sentence, right? So if that's our only card and my job is to look out for my client's best interests, then that's the card I'm going to try to play, right? Now, that's why it's a huge red flag for me when I hear these lawyers that talk about, I never have my client cooperate. I will never have a client sit down and talk to the feds. That never is such a red flag. It means you're eliminating what is sometimes the most effective way to advocate for and reach a resolution to the benefit of your client. Now, obviously, cooperation is not the best solution in every case. It's not. You can't go into it saying, my clients always cooperate, right? That's just as much of a red flag. But it's something that a good defense lawyer is going to consider and discuss with the client, and then let the client decide what is best for them. I tell my clients all the time, I'm never going to make you cooperate. I'm never going to say, we need to do this or I'm walking. Ever. If you tell me I'm not interested, that's the answer. Then we're going to go and we're going to try something else. That's perfectly fine. But I'm not doing my job as your lawyer if I don't explain to you the pros, the cons, the risks, and all that good stuff. So that's really what it comes down to. Because again, a lot of times that's how we turn a massive sentence into a manageable sentence. Just like anything else, this is one of those topics that I could talk about for a really long time. I could go into a lot more detail. So if that's something that interests you, if you have a specific question about this, then either drop a comment or send me an email, or better yet, on Sundays, every Sunday evening, I do a live stream over on Twitch, link below. Come join me, come chat, come hang out, ask whatever questions you have, because I would love to do more videos where I'm digging into the details of these topics, but I never know what people are actually interested in hearing about. So let me know. Let me know if these videos are something that you want to see, and I'm happy to keep making them. Until then, it always helps me if you like the video, if you subscribe to the channel, if you haven't already. Those numbers are how I gauge if these videos are actually working and worthwhile, because if they're not worthwhile, then I'll stop making them, because I got a bunch of work to do for the clients that pay me money to represent them. So let me know if these are something that you guys enjoy, and I'm happy to continue making them. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Hope you have a good week next week. I want you all to crush it. And until then, I want you to be good and stay on the right side of the bars.